in Magic. I'm surprised there hasn't been a bigger push to have that universe. Oh shit. Have you looked at any of the Discord around the changes Apple's making to their like the liquid glass that they're rolling out? So Monday was WWDC and they showed off. What's the next operating system going to be called, Chase? That you install on your phone? Oh no, Tahoe. That's the Mac. But on your phone, what you're running iOS? Yeah. Yeah. Could you go to your settings and tell me what that number says? Yeah. Not as much as the game I'm going to talk about later on with you, but this one. Okay. So what's the next one? No. Like when the next, like, you're on wrong. It's 26. They think that's pretty, like, hey, everything now is just 26. I bet you the next iPhone that comes out will be the iPhone 26. This is going to be the year after it. It's getting dragged on the internet because it does, I will say this much, if you remember the aesthetic and look of Windows Vista, it's very much that. Like they've gone from the flat back to the skeuomorphism, and it's like glass, and you can make all of your icons look like little clear glass with just like frosted. It's a lot. It's a lot. The iPad, however, is finally pretty much like a Mac, where you can multitask on it the way that you would want, which I'm really a big fan of. Like I still use my iPad quite a bit for recording and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just funny to see the pomp that they rolled out on, like, hey, we're doing our biggest change since iOS 7. Everybody's like, you just lowered the opacity, you fools. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's true. Because they wanted it to match what Steve Jobs is doing in his grave right now. I'm the hot mic. I'm always a hot guy. I like my mics like I like my face. Hot. Speaking of hot, it is summer, and by summer I mean it's Summer Game Fest, and we're here to tell you about it tonight. My name is Bobby. That's Chase. We're the Casual Hour. Chase, how you feeling?
Hot. I'm also hot, but hot.
Yeah, I forgot. You're hot for the wrong reasons.
Wow. Fuck you, man.
No. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Okay, you can't take that one back, I guess. How do I recover from insulting you? Well, there's gonna be plenty of that tonight.
That's true.
It is episode 426. Today is June 11th. We did just get through two significant things in gaming. The Switch 2 is here. We're going to talk about it. And Jeff Keighley's, you have a Switch 2. Look at that thing. Looks good in your hands. I mean, you're holding me.
Yeah.
You're holding me.
Switch 2, Bobby.
Oh, I hate being in there. We went through Jeff Keighley and friends and all their showcases. We're going to talk about some of the standouts for us. We're certainly not going to cover everything that was shown there. So know what you've been playing tonight outside of Mario Kart World, and maybe a few other things around the Switch too that we can highlight here. But Chase, overall, how are you feeling? Are you ready to talk about the Nintendo Switch? Do you feel good about talking about the Nintendo Switch?
Is Nintendo ready to talk about the Nintendo Switch?
I would say in varying degrees, yes. I would say largely, maybe not.
I would say don't get me wrong. I think this is a nice console,
Mhm.
and I think I'm going to have many happy years with it. This would get an incomplete from me right now. There's one game. We've had this argument before, but there is one real new game on this console, and it's fine.
Why did I see somebody say there are 3 games for it? So let's not bury the lead too much here. The Nintendo Switch 2 is here. It will set you back if you can get one for $49 or $4.99 if you get the pack in with the, to Chase's point, one game that's out, which is Mario Kart World. The Switch came out on June 5th. It seems like there's been availability post-launch to get this thing. I got my Nintendo lottery draw, I think yesterday or the day before. You and I secured ours the night that they went on pre-order back in April. I got my wife one, got her all set up with it.
And yet also the fastest selling console ever with like 3.5 million
huge numbers,
2 days or something like
huge numbers.
So they knew to make a lot of these, even despite warning us, tariffs, I don't know, who knows when you'll get it or how much it'll be. And
right,
it's like, yeah, they're just out there. Like you can get them. They're not easy to get, but they're not hard to get. Like it's not, you don't have to sell your plasma or something to go find these things.
Before we get too much into some of the software pieces of it, let's just talk a bit about like what have your overall thoughts been, because I know that you've been a bit adverse to larger handhelds.
Yeah, this is too big.
Do you think it's too big?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too big. It feels a little wrong in my hands. I think I'm still going to happily play this thing in handheld mode, but I definitely prefer it in docked mode. It feels a little ungainly. Like certainly not as ungainly as like a Steam Deck, which just felt.
I think the Steam Deck's more comfortable to hold than this thing. And here's why.
You're a bigger man with bigger hands. You need a bigger, thicker console.
it really comes down to if this had. So I have an ROG Ally X, not the Xbox one we'll talk about later on, but the one that came out last July. And I had the Steam Deck before that. I had the ROG Ally before, in between those two. They're on the back of that. You've held that one over at my house before. Like it's got some humps I like to hang on to on the back of it that feel good.
I've heard that about you.
I like those little humps on my Switch. I wish my Switch had more humps is what I wish, because I think it is, the thickness of it's great. I don't mind the width of it. I think the weight is nice too for it. It feels sturdy when you're holding onto it, but it is kind of a thinner profile that feel for longer. There's some fatigue if you don't have that grip on it.
Yeah, I think obviously Nintendo wouldn't do this. It would be crazy. But I kind of wish it the back here. So like on the back, you talked about lack of humps.
Yeah,
and you're right, but it does have 2 little humps where it has the ZR and ZL buttons.
Yeah,
and I wish the one on the right, the right hand one, would have a hump that would go a little further down.
Yeah,
because
totally.
On the front, when you're using the control sticks, the other one, they're offset sticks, so like that one's further down a little bit, and I kind of feel like I have to go into like a little claw a little bit to use that right thumbstick, because the rest of the console is resting on my middle fingers. And it's not as comfortable. Now they're not going to do that because that would be unsymmetrical and probably be terrible, but
almost as terrible as having a joystick in the middle of the controller when you're holding it horizontally. But
no, that was perfect. They need to go back to that.
I also think that while we're talking a little bit about just handheld specifically with this, noticeably much worse battery life than the Switch. And I'm not surprised. It's a bigger screen.
So hang on. Worse than which Switch?
I mean, even my OLED.
Yeah, but that's still a newer Switch. I have the original Switch, the first one.
I don't know. I mean, like I think so I
imagine it's probably better than that.
It's not. From what I've read online, this is worse because I mean it's pushing way more power out of this thing. It's a bigger screen. It's got it's pushing more pixels at the same time. But this is going to be hyper specific to me, and I think maybe you would fall into this camp as well. if you're not really on the go like you once were with your Switch, you're playing this, and
man, I wish I was on the go. I wish I was a gamer on the go, but I am no longer.
you're a retired gamer on the go.
Yeah,
Gamer going downstairs, more like it. But
no,
I think
too hot downstairs.
Too hot for TV, too hot for handheld. I think that this is like, I'm playing this on the couch, or I have it docked up here in my office. There's a dock down in our basement for the TV there that I play on too. But for me, if I'm playing this in handheld, I'm usually plugged into power if I need to be. Like if I'm on the couch, I'm plugged into power. That's the point I'm trying to make here with it. I do really like, though, like the things that I wanted from the Switch. Give me a little bit bigger screen. Give me the 4K output. Give me HDR that it has. Like, I honestly am very happy with what they're doing. And I think, to your point, this is eventually going to be a really, really fantastic console. Not that it's not now, but there's an imbalance between how good the hardware is and what you can take advantage of that hardware with. And
it's got no games.
It's got no games. And even for me, like a Zelda slut, I've put, I think, almost 200 hours into Tears of the Kingdom and just shy of that on Breath of the Wild. There's really not a whole lot left for me to go and do besides be like, wow, this looks great. It runs great.
Right. It's kind of just like take a little walk, maybe do like one shrine or something, and go, yeah,
totally.
Improvement. And then it's
totally.
Like, wait, you're not going to play 200 more hours of Zelda or go back and start from scratch. So, while I appreciate that they went and did that work, especially for something like a Pokemon Scarlet Violet, which those games needed some fucking help.
It's crazy. That's probably like the biggest change that I mean, like that one is substantial for sure.
But also the problem is that they're just fixing performance and the way it looks, and
they're not fixing the game itself,
the way it plays.
Yeah. The other thing I'll call out to, while this is docked or in its tabletop mode, I will give them a lot of flowers here, man. Like, I think that the mouse stuff works really well. Like, I'm honestly surprised.
I haven't tried the mouse, actually.
That Nintendo was able to just make something so seamless. Like, if you are holding your Joy-Cons, like where you have one in each hand and you just turn one down, it immediately brings up the cursor and you have now that as an input on the menus. It's kind of nice too. Like, on my mouse, I have the scroll wheel in between the right and left. You can use the joystick to scroll up and down and click, which is nice. It feels awkward though. Like, it's just an uncomfortable way to claw the mouse because your shoulder button and your trigger button are your left and right. There is a company that has made a magnetic insert that you just plop the Joy-Con down into, and it looks like a mouse shell, which works really. I think that could work well. There's not enough there for me to be like, I'm going to play it this way. And if I had something that did not hurt my hand, like a USB mouse, which I'll also call that out to you. I ended up purchasing a wired mouse to use with the Switch here at the desk, and it does not recognize it whatsoever. I was told though online that it will understand it if you're in a game and you plug it in and you use it with that game. So we'll see. I don't have a game I want to use that with yet, but I think that is a cool thing, and I could see a lot of potential in certain games in the future, whether it be like Mario Maker, where you can place and have a bit more precision. I think it's
Prime.
Yeah,
they've already shown
100%.
First-person shooters kind of feel pretty nice with that. While we're on the Joy-Cons,
Yeah.
I think the Joy-Cons feel great.
I do too.
I
do too.
Miss my Spice Orange Joy-Con, but I really like the ways these Joy-Cons come off and magnetically snap in.
It's so good.
I heard some people complaining that they felt like it was loose in the system, and I have not had that problem at all. These things feel really solid when they're clicked into place.
Agreed. I have had some like have you had anything with your dock being kind of wobbly when the Switch is in there this time around with that new dock?
No, but I've mostly just left it in the dock.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had that experience.
The Joy-Con, like that whole thing is such a, like I was we're gifting our old Switches to we have twin nephews who have a birthday coming up this weekend. We're going to gift them our old ones. And I was getting those all set up, and I was putting the Joy-Cons on and off of it to get things ready. And I was like, that in itself feels ancient compared to the magnets. Just popping on and coming off, it works really well. I know that you've made a comment, Chase. Let's kind of transition over to some software stuff here.
Before we do, one more hardware thing. The thing that is probably most disappointing to me so far, and it's a problem that will eventually get fixed. I will absolutely not buy a second dock. That is,
Oh yeah.
they are charging a ridiculous amount of money for a second dock.
Isn't it like
What was it, 110
120?
bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
110, 120, something crazy like that. And I refuse to buy a second dock. That is stupid. But also, I thought I could just like keep the power cable. I already had all of my cables um,
Oh no.
in the back and
Oh
laced
no.
up, and all that looked kind of nice and okay. And then no, yeah, it was not recognizing the switch, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And yeah, it told me that, oh, you need to change out the adapter. You need the real adapter. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So I started looking it up, and yeah, the new, what is it, 60-watt adapter you need for this stuff, where the old one was 30.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's
Yeah.
what's even crazier than that though is, the power brick that comes with your MacBook Pro you have, like that's I
Mm-hmm.
think probably 110 at this
Yeah.
point. We had one of those out, and I was doing the data transfer on Sarah's, and it's like, hey, you need to plug this in the power. I'm like, well, she had this plugged into her iPad. I'll just move it over here.
Mm-hmm.
It would not recognize that as a valid power input
Well,
for
that's
that.
interesting.
Yeah,
Mine's been a power. Mine's taken power from the.
it's crazy. The other thing that I
So
think that's a little frustrating. I mean, I'm not running into this, but Sarah is. You know how you can wake your Switch with the Pro controller? I don't believe
uh-huh.
yours will wake the
Not
Switch too.
not the old one. No,
And that's
it sure
such
shit won't.
bullshit.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
it's so because like that was the biggest thing. I have a lot of the 8-bit controllers, and I think they're fantastic, but they also would not wake the system even on the original Switch, which I
Yeah.
could kind of see. Maybe there was something there going on
I
behind the
just thought
scenes.
my Pro controller like hadn't been like properly paired, so I was like,
No,
oh, the console just needs to be on, and because it's wired, it connects up to it.
no,
But
no,
I
man.
haven't actually wirelessly paired this one yet. And nope, apparently the answer is no. It's just not going to work like that. So I will eventually get one of those, and it
It,
works like that, right? The new Pro
yep.
controller.
Yeah, this is it here. It's really nice. I like it's got a different finish on it that feels great. It's got the capture button. I'm not capture, I'm sorry, but the chat or community or whatever they're calling that. Um, but yeah, it works fine for this. And I'm kind of shocked that a Nintendo Pro controller that they say will work with this has that missing, and that's such a shitty
Yeah.
thing for people who have like their Switch docked in a home console or something. Like that's just not great.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think these are problems that eventually kind of just get smoothed over by time when we buy more into the Switch 2 ecosystem.
Do you?
Um, the thing I wanted to go back to though, when I was talking about not buying another dock,
Mhm.
is I currently, or with my old Switch, I use the Genki covert
Yeah,
dock,
yeah.
and liked that a lot as a much more low profile dock that I could
Hmm.
take with me on
Very
vacations and stuff like
packable.
that. Yeah, super easy, works great, and it did everything I needed it to. That also is a 30-watt, so it just doesn't work with the Switch 2. And I thought, okay, well, Genki was in trouble because they leaked like some Switch 2
Oh
shit.
yeah.
So like obviously they've had the Switch 2. There's probably just like a new Genki dock that I gotta buy for the Switch 2. So you type in Genki Switch 2 dock, and it goes, yep, here's the Genki Covert Dock 2, and you're like, okay, that's what I want, right?
Nope.
And then thankfully I read the fine print to go, wait a minute, whoa, hang on. This is just like a second version of their original one. I forgot that they made one of those, and that is just, again, works with the original Switch, doesn't work with the Switch 2. So there is currently no third party dock that I've found
Yeah.
that still works with the Switch 2.
I think it's gonna be a
So
minute, man. There's a lot going on
it
in that
probably
thing.
will. And that's a real bummer for somebody who, wants to be able to take this thing on the go and hook it up to a TV at my parents' place. And I'm
Yep.
not going to be able to do that unless I, one, buy a second dock, which I'm not going to fucking do for that amount of money that Nintendo
I
wants for
know.
first party docks, or I'm going to just play this thing in handheld mode, which is not my favorite way of playing it. But, if I'm just doing it for a weekend or something, I guess I can do. But
This.
that's been one of the more disappointing things to me. Is like, man, I just kind of wish everything worked,
Yeah.
or at least had solutions that I could reasonably pay for. And at the moment, it doesn't.
What I will tell you is this, like, and I think I mentioned it either on the Mario Kart. I probably mentioned it on the Mario Kart stream I did last Friday, but I think I've talked to you about it as well. This is the most Apple ass launch ever, where you've got, I mean, I think even just the setup of this, like, there is no punches being pulled that you have a Switch. Like, everything about this down to the UI is the same. It moves all your screenshots over, all your save data. Like, it has a whole thing about moving and migrating, and it feels very much like I have a modern new phone. It does everything I want, but slightly better. It feels new again. That's great. I can now play these apps, or I can do this with a camera. And even some of the bullshit stuff that Apple has done, where it's like, oh, you now need a dongle to use these cables that you've had for forever, or we're switching this, and you
took
need
away the headphone jack.
Yeah, like all those things. Well, hey, Nintendo added one though. Good on them.
True. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nintendo, so they're giving you stuff.
Yeah. Fuck you, Apple. Nintendo added a headphone jack, but I think that it feels very much like an upgrade cycle from like a smartphone, and especially for somebody like Apple who had put themselves into a corner of like, we have so many apps, we have all these other things. This needs to be keep it as simple as possible for everybody. And on one hand, I respect it. This is maybe the like most, God, this is going to sound harsher than I mean it to, but it might be like one of the most boring console upgrades I've ever experienced. Like,
yeah, it totally is.
Like, and
I outside, and I think a lot of this also has to do with the it has no games argument, which we'll eventually get to.
Yeah.
But I played the Switch 2 for like my first like real session. I played it for a couple hours, and I was like, man, yeah, this feels great and looks great. I like a lot of the stuff that's going on here. And then I put it down, and then it was like another few days before I thought, should I play my Switch 2 again? It's like, well, it's just kind of there. It just kind of did stuff because I haven't yet gotten to really experience what's new and great about this console. I suppose there's a $10 video game that could tell me what's new and great about this console, but I'm not paying for that.
Well, and I think, man, like, you know, a lot's changed in 8 years. I went to the midnight release. I picked up my Switch 2. I brought that thing home. It had this huge physical box for this collector's edition of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That was the most different Zelda had ever felt. Switch 1, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, sorry. That was the most different Zelda had felt. This was the like wildest thing of like, wait, I can just put this thing into this dock. It's on my TV. I pick it up, and I can like.
That game, Bobby, came out for Wii U, so you know it's not like.
No, that's true, but I think that it felt significant, and I don't think that this feels nearly as significant, and that's a shame because like if you look back, like every generation, even the Wii U, for God's sake, adding in that extra screen and like kind of mimicking some of the 3DS mechanics there.
I think the 3DS is actually a perfect comparison because that is another console that looks and feels basically like the one that came right before it and had no games at launch. It had more games than this, but it had no games at launch. And in fact, it was so poorly supported at the beginning of its lifespan. They needed to do the ambassador program for it and give people a bunch of other free little games that they already owned, 5 times over. But now you get little ROMs that are on your 3DS. It is wild how little impact I've really felt by having a Switch 2, despite still being excited that I have one, still being excited for the future that this console is going to give me. It kind of just feels like, I got groceries. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm stocked up. I guess I'm good for the next, whatever. But am I excited that I went to the grocery store and bought bread? Not really. I just have bread now. I guess it's good to know that I have bread, but am I like, oh fuck yeah, I got bread?
I know.
Here.
Dude, I'll tell you this much. Like, I don't know. I mean, I love home consoles. I love new shit. Like, I'm all for it. I really don't know if we weren't doing the podcast, I don't know if I would have like grabbed this at launch. I might have waited for a few more things. And
You bought the Google console at launch. You would buy this at
well,
launch.
that was a different thing though, because that was a promise of you can play this thing in the cloud. You can play it on your phone, you can play it on your tablet, you can play it here. It was such a new concept at the time. It was a poorly
I know.
it sucked when it came out. But no, I'm thrilled to have it. My wife and I have played Mario Kart. She's been racing as the cow and having a great time laughing at that. I mean, well, I guess we can transition now. I think it's a really good Mario Kart, but also like to go back to what I was saying with the Zelda Breath of the Wild, like that felt distinctively different from anything else. It felt substantial. And there's some cool new things in this Mario Kart. And I think it's a very good Mario Kart, but it still feels very much like Mario Kart. Like it's the safest game they could launch with on the safest iteration on the hardware they could do. Everything about it is boring and safe and great at the same time. And it's just one of those things where like I have a hard time right now telling people, because I've had a few people at work ask me like, oh, you got the Switch 2, should I get it? I'm like, it just kind of depends on what you expect. Like if you want to have,
if you need to play Mario Kart today,
get it.
You got 22 other friends who also want to play Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you're golden, buddy.
Yeah.
But if you want to like sit down and if the idea of like a new Nintendo console means sitting down with a game like a Breath of the Wild or a Mario Galaxy and going, wow, this is the new thing from Nintendo. I think you're going to be relatively disappointed with what the Switch.
I think that's right
now, and we'll get there. But
bless you. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you think that? Do you think that even something like the Brave, like, because I know that you care about Bravely Default, quite a bit. Like, does that even feel special at this point in time to play something like that on this?
No, I bought it.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker, and I will eventually play it, but I have not felt the need to play it because it does just feel like going back to an old game.
I didn't want to take the energy or effort to figure this out. I probably will after we record. A couple episodes into the Switch's life, when it came out, when we were doing this show, there was a lot of hubbub online about the Switch lineup not being substantial. We actually did an episode where we compared launch lineups because of that. And we walked out of that all saying, you know what? Like, this is actually a pretty damn good lineup in comparison to other generations of launches. Holy shit. If the people making noise today, making noise back then about the Switch lineup were around doing the same shit today, I mean,
there was also the thing, and Nintendo spirited this as well. It's like, oh, it's the launch window. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not launch day. It's not what you can play that day. It's this is good what you get in like the first 3 months, and look at all the stuff you'll get. And I think we just have transitioned from a time where it mattered more of like what do you have day one to what are you going to be able to have consistently over time and building a library that way. And I think the other thing that Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox these days get to lean on is the Switch 2 is a Switch. Like you could just play your Switch games. And like you said, they've even upgraded a number of old Switch games that you can go back and play now. And if you were playing something on the Switch, you can just continue playing it on the Switch 2 and there you go. Like the Switch 2 has the best launch lineup of all time because it has every single fucking Switch game on it.
Well,
like, look at all the games.
Not everyone.
Not everyone. You can't play Ring Fit, I guess, because of the Joy-Con shit. Yeah.
But you can play ARMS.
Great.
I think you're onto it though, and I think that's a smart point here. Is it is the best way to play all your favorite Switch games, and the Switch. I mean, do you think it's a fair thing to say like the Nintendo Switch is one of the greatest home consoles ever launched? I think that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the Switch has not only delivered some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, but I think it's fundamentally changed how people view consoles and how people even view PCs because of what it's been able to do.
If you're going to do it in a vacuum of hey, I bought this console. What are the games that I can play on it? And you think
Mm-hmm.
about how the Switch has Switch games,
Yep.
and then it also has the digital stuff from the Nintendo Online, being able to play old Game Boy games or Genesis games or N64 games, and now the Switch 2 having a couple of GameCube games on it. Like
Yep.
there are, it's cheating a little bit. You're definitely taking from what you had before, but if in a vacuum you look at this thing and you go, yeah, like there's so much good stuff here. Like this is a console that has both Breath of the Wild and A Link to the Past on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Well, it's a great like that's a great
It's great.
console. It sounds great to me. What do you want?
I don't have any buyer's remorse on getting this. I will say, like I knew I was going to have this. I'm excited about Donkey Kong coming out. I'm excited about Metroid coming out.
And it's not like it's going to get cheaper in a
No,
year. In
no.
fact, it's probably only going to get more expensive based on
Yeah,
geopolitics. But
I mean,
I mean, it's Nintendo. Like it's
the
it's going to
the
cost what it costs, and we've purchased these things,
yeah,
and these will have a long tail. They will continue to be supported for a very long time,
yeah.
and this will end up paying off. But in the short term, you got Mario Kart, you've got a $10 tech demo, and you've got a
Bravely
game
Default.
and you've got Bravely Default, a game that's already been out for a very
Yeah,
long time.
yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
and I mean, I think it's even going to be a bit before you start to see a lot of third party work to it. So we'll see what's going on there. But I wanted to just make sure to highlight what I do like about it, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff with it, but I think it's mostly kinetic at this point in time. Like there's going to be something cool that will eventually happen with this on like the where the software will take more advantage of the hardware. And Nintendo was able to do some pretty miraculous things with their first party on that Switch's power level, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with this. But we didn't hear a lot about what is going to be taking advantage of that. We just saw stuff was coming to the Switch through Summer Game Fest. Why don't we let's transition over. We got about 30 minutes left of the show here, and let's unpack some of our thoughts and feelings across what Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest was, and maybe some of the corresponding streams with it.
Really doesn't want to hear my opinions on Mario Kart, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're fine. We can go.
No, it's okay. Like,
another week.
Let's talk about Mario Kart.
I think it's kind of bad.
Do you really?
I mean, you said boring, and I think boring is probably the more accurate. It is relatively expected. I think especially for a Mario Kart that is trying to make up for two Mario Karts, because we got 8 and then we got 8 Deluxe for the Switch, and we never got a new Mario Kart. And in fact, even the new Mario Kart stuff we got was old Mario Kart stuff with a couple of new tracks, I guess. With the course pack stuff. This game, it plays well. I think the functions of Mario Kart are still there. I really just want to get into like all the little game design quibbly stuff, and I know we don't have time for that. But like,
I mean, if you want to,
I'll just say a couple things, and then we also have our new Casually Considered that you made, and that's 26 minutes of you going into deeper Mario Kart stuff, and I think that's a great thing for people to watch. But one of the things that you had on there that you talked about was here's like a little greebly thing, which is you went, oh, I really like how the shells just trail behind you automatically now. You don't have to hold the button. And when I played Mario Kart, I went, "What the fuck? Why'd they break this? I wanna hold my shells behind me. Why'd you just do this?"
Wait,
like that's a little thing I like. Is like I like holding the button to put the shell.
Oh, you like the physical action of holding, and then letting go to.
Yes.
Got it. Oh shit.
And now the game just keeps it behind you, and it's something that I've had to adjust to, because that's not how Mario Kart's worked for the last handful of versions. And it seems like such a small thing, but it's a thing that matters to me. It's like I care about those little details in the little ways you change. How does drifting work in this one? When are you hitting the button to get the boost at the starting gate?
I don't love that
When
you
you see
can't
the
select an
number 2.
item either early. You can't stop
Right.
the spin. Like,
You can, but you can't stop it immediately. It takes like a second and a half
there's a
or
delay
so.
with it. I hope they fix
Before
that.
you can do it. I don't think they will. I think that was like a balance change that they made purposefully.
Oh, to keep you from the
So you
spamming it?
to keep you from getting an item immediately and using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I also don't love that. I wish I could get my items. The item boxes. When you in previous Mario Kart games, they've had the double item box, and you
Yeah.
get 2 items and you can shuffle them around. One, I don't think you can shuffle anymore.
No, you can't. Like, if I get like a dash bag, yeah,
before you get the other, yeah, which is a bummer to me. But also, you used to be able to hit 2 single item boxes at the same time and get double items.
and you can't do that now. Yep.
You either have to get a double, or there are a couple of rare places where you can get an item box and then like another single item box that are, basically back to back, but they're not on the same line, and then you can get a second item that way. And that's also a bummer to me. Like, I would purposefully sometimes try to take 2 item boxes to deny them to other people and also get double items for myself. And now the game doesn't allow for that. So I think some of those little things are interesting in just the ways they've chosen to change up the game. But the major thing that they've changed, obviously, is the open world.
Yeah.
I think the open world, for the most part, is a huge miss. I like free roaming. I think free roaming is fine. I like that they've added in a bunch of little challenges. I think the challenges are all like way too hard for what they need to be.
Yeah.
There's some where it's like I'm losing this one, or I'm only losing it by like a second and a half, and why'd you make these things so difficult? But I think the big open world is really detrimental when you get into the Grand Prix, where you're supposed to do, in traditional Mario Kart fashion, you play 4 races back to back to back to back. And when you start one of these cups to do one of the races, you will go around that track generally 3 times. Some are single laps, or some are like a handful more laps, but generally you're going around the thing for 3 times. And then when you finish that first race, then it has you drive from that race to the next race. But they count that as the next race.
Mm-hmm.
They count that as part of the next race when you're doing it. So you'll get a lap or 2 laps going to the next course. And then that course will only be a lap long. So you only see that course for a single lap. You don't get to learn strategies. You don't get to place items that maybe you'll get to put a banana peel in a place that maybe will fuck over somebody the next lap around. You just don't get that. So then you do that race, and then it takes you to the next one. And I think it just does a real disservice to any of the tracks that aren't the first one, because you barely see them and you don't get used to them.
It is like a they want to keep some movement going with it for sure. I like I call this out on the casually considered, like, I like the unwinding nature of the open world. And I hate to even bring this up right now, because I'm not a big fan of the cost of games conversation around like what it should cost to what you get, because we've played $2 games that we've gushed about, and we've played anyway. They are going to have to fill that thing up with some stuff, and they're going to have to support the shit out of this game, because it took them a while to do it, but they added a ton of content over into 8 Deluxe. And I think that world has a ton of potential to do seasonal stuff, to do some really cool, like, let's do something with like that will line up with one of our other games that we're launching in the Mario universe or in the Nintendo IP. Like, let's celebrate it. And like, even if it's a temporary thing, like, hey, we've got this island over here for Animal Crossing, we're going to have you race on it for a bit. Like, I think there's things that they could do to fill that up, but there is like every course area has 5 question blocks to go and discover. I haven't found all of them for a single area yet. I just haven't looked too hard. But the way that they've also laid out things that would make it more compelling to go and find secrets, like the outfits for your characters. I had everybody's unlocked just by going to Peach's castle and like pretty much doing that circle in the cul-de-sac that they had. Like they make it impossibly hard on some challenges and overly easy in other areas. And I haven't done this yet, but I just kind of wonder, like, would that world feel better on a Discord call with people you cared about, just being something you were doing while you were catching up? Maybe.
Sure.
And
I
I
mean,
just,
Mario Kart's always more fun with friends, but
yeah,
it is this is kind of like the open world thing is a different thing, and it's a
yeah,
different way of playing Mario Kart, and I don't know if it's as exciting as the other forms. And you mentioned the open world like being, more of a way for them to bring in new content. Like if they
hmm,
did make an Animal Crossing island, I actually think the open world hamstrings them a little bit. It's really easy to make a new cup in Mario Kart 8 of just here's four more courses that we
yeah,
put in. Think back to Forza Horizon. Think back
hmm,
to Burnout Paradise. When they added in new land masses, they had to be completely separate from the main land mass
yep.
that you're on, and you had to do a load to get into them. I know maybe Mario Kart will figure out a way to not have that work,
We
but
talked about it last week. I was like, a warp whistle might do it.
maybe. But here's the other thing though, is that when you're playing um not the Grand Prix, which are predetermined, these are the courses that you do and you go between each one of those. Um, but when you play a versus match, you have the option, which I love, to have the option to just say, I want to play this course, and we're just playing this course. So we're running around it
Hmm.
3 times. Great. And then the next race that we do, I want it to be this place, and we're going to run that around 3 times. And you can do it that way. But you can also say, I want to go from this course to this course. So you'll do a lap of one course, you'll
Yep.
drive to the next course, and you do a lap of that course, and they count that as one race.
Hmm.
You're not going to be able to do that with a new landmass that you have to load into that's like a completely separate place. You're not going to be able to go to the Animal Crossing thing and then drive through a load to get you back to the main land where you can continue on to the next race. Or the other new feature that they have, which I think is actually the best justification of the open world, is the knockout tours. Have you done a knockout tour
I
yet,
love the
Ryan?
knockout tours.
They're so good
Yep.
for the open world. That
Yep.
is the reason to play the open
It's
world, is
honestly
that it
outside
is
of the open world. That's my favorite thing to do in the game.
totally, because it is for races, but it's all condensed into one race, and you're just doing a lap of one track, driving to the next, a lap of the next track, a lap of the next track, a lap of the next track. And it's all one continuous race, and it's knockout rules. So there's a certain place that you have to be to make the cutoff to continue on in the race. And if you're below that cutoff, your race is done. I think that's
I think
incredibly
that
well done.
that is what they were going to do only.
Yeah, totally. And it has like a Cannonball Run feel,
Yeah.
and it's
Yep.
exactly what you're looking for out of this style
Yep.
of open world racing. Uh, but then, it's Mario Kart, so you still want to play the Grand Prix, and
Hmm.
the Grand Prix just feel so much worse with this system in here. And I really feel bad because there are some courses I really like here, and I also just don't get to experience them. They brought back one of my favorite courses in Mario Kart history, Airship Fortress. It's it's beautiful. It's there. It's like, oh, that's my baby boy. That's the one they were missing out of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I'm sure it's because they knew they were going to be doing it for this one. But also, it's like the third race in its Grand Prix, so you kind of just
I
go
know.
through it once and then you're on to the next track. And I didn't even get to experience the track I like. What's up?
I say it on the casually considered, and again, I appreciate the plug, and everybody should go watch it. But I like this Mario Kart quite a bit. I'm having a really good time with it. I think it looks great. It feels great to play. I do agree with some of the issues that you're raising with it, and I'm hoping that this is like my opinion will change in the game if they do not support it more. If they do not keep things coming to this, if they do not just like this game is not worth I hate to say this, I really do. It's not worth $80 right now. It's just not. Like this is not an $80 video game.
I don't think you will get new stuff for that game for a very long time.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
I think they're
But
going to think this is like a solid release.
yep,
And then maybe next year, 2 years down the line, they'll go, hey, here's a new course pack.
sure.
And we'll see how they incorporate that. But I think they're going to think this is a finished product. in a way that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was not.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, appreciate the hot take on it. I know that we might
It's
sound
still a good game. I'm still looking forward to playing with other people. I think we'll have a great time playing with some of our casual friends. But as a single player game, thinking about the mechanics of Mario Kart,
a
and the
marquee
way
launch
they set
title,
this up,
single player
yeah,
experience.
the only
Yeah.
launch title. I'm a little bit disappointed in the overall package for sure.
I agree. I think that that's fair to say. And I try to bring that up too. Like, it's not really a matter of like, should you casually consider Mario Kart World? It's like, should you consider it right now, or consider the Switch even more so for that? So,
but that pit crew costume for the Shy Guy is great. I like that.
I like Touring Yoshi a whole lot. I like Biker Wario a whole lot.
It's got both of those skins.
Very, very good skins. I like Pro Racer Luigi a whole lot.
Sure.
And I like Vampire Waluigi a ton. I think he looks very dumb and very good. So let's talk Summer Game Fest, Chase. Like, I think first, before I do this, we should have talked about this at the top of the show. There's a lot happening in our country right now, and there certainly is a lot happening in LA where the Summer Game Fest took place. Matter of fact, that night they were coming in, ice rolled up into a lot of areas, and were going into businesses and pulling people out and doing some very heinous gazpacho shit. I think that left a very big shadow on people's comfort level being live at that event. And I just want to say, like, it sucks. I recognize there's a lot of terrible stuff going on right now.
It does, but also, and this has changed a little bit with, military being brought in and things like that. But LA is a very large city. And
it is.
The protests and things that were happening were at a very small section of that city. So a lot of people just kind of went on with their weekends and didn't really even. I'm sure a bunch of people didn't even know things were happening.
Yep.
And I don't think the convention center area where Summer Games Fest was held was really all that affected. I know I saw Patrick Klepek mention that he saw some police outside of his hotel window. So there are certainly places. I'm not saying nobody was affected, but you do have to remember LA is an incredibly large,
100%,
and very funkily drawn city. Get a little gerrymandering in there. Have you? You should actually look at the city limits of LA if you haven't.
It's huge.
Weird how there's just like, there's also like a tiny thing that goes down, and then there's a bigger section here, and it's like, you're just trying to like group as many Democrats together, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
We're not going to get through everything on the show tonight, but I'll just come out and say, like, I think that the Summer Game Fest itself, like Keeley's show, was pretty uninspired and lacking quite a bit.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. One, because I don't get to hear you say bad things very often. But two, I agree. I was so bored by this show.
It's everybody that I talked to on a personal level was like, text me like, dude, this thing sucks. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty boring. And I think that what I will call out, because I don't want this to be indicative of like the people making video games, but like we're kind of getting to the find out portion of fucking around, and what happens with the layoffs in the industry and what gets financed and who can like invest and do things, and
catching up from COVID and
all that. Yeah, man.
Disruptions from that and what that led to.
Absolutely. The giving tree is running out.
There's also, Keeley only can show the games that pony up or that he, allows for free. And I did see somebody saying it's just not the best time for a lot of games to be promoting themselves right now. The Game Awards time is a much better time for them to make those kinds of announcements, and that's why the Game Awards in December usually gets bigger, more impactful games, because that's just better for their marketing than this time is. So we are dealing with, I'm not going to say the scraps. There were certainly games of quality there, but there's certainly more games that are, of a certain type. You saw a lot of Souls-like games. You saw a lot of gacha kind of games. You saw a lot of those games, similar kinds of genres show up at Summer Games Fest. And I think that's just because that's what's available right now.
Yeah. I put down 4 games. Scott Pilgrim EX, Mina and the Hollower, Lego Voyagers and Atomic Kart 2, I think looks like a ton of fun. And so
Well,
those
I
are
have
the
3 games, and you mentioned 2 of them, so that's great. This will be quick.
we're doing good here.
I also had Lego Voyagers. I think Lego Voyagers looks great.
It looks
I never
fantastic.
played that previous Lego game.
I own it. I haven't played it though.
It seems great. I know some people said they cried when they played
Yeah.
it. It's supposedly really affecting. I think the Voyagers one with like the more co-op ideas and the ways that you can be a little bit more creative. That seems like
I
one
ran
I'm
and
sure you'll play with your
sprinted
wife.
to show my wife that one.
But like that also seems like one I would play with you.
Yeah, we should play it.
But I'm not gonna play second fiddle to your wife.
Well, let's just make this little menage a trois.
I also had Mina the Hollower. That's the new game from Yacht Club. We actually played a little bit of that on our newest Casual Monday.
It's hard, but cool.
It does seem a little unintuitive from when Bobby played it. But that's like a new, basically like Link's Awakening style game. Has some real Game Boy Color style graphics to it. But this is the first new IP that they've had since Shovel Knight, and I'm excited to see more of what that thing is and try it out. I think that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
What were the other 2 games that you had on your list?
Scott Pilgrim, Atomic Heart 2, Lego, and Mina.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Pilgrim is cool. Like that is one of the rare times like a publisher has put out the previous game to say like, oh, it's remastered, and if you like it, we might make a new one.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, somebody actually did. It wasn't just a lie. It wasn't just a lie.
They brought back everybody.
They made it. Anamanaguchi's here. That's great.
I know. I would love this soundtrack. I already tell you I love this soundtrack.
Sure. I still don't necessarily care about beat 'em ups. I didn't actually love playing the first Scott Pilgrim game back when I played it originally.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It looks great. I'm into a lot of what it's doing.
I agree.
I know you're a big Scott Pilgrim fan as well.
I am. Really quick, we're not going to talk a lot about Day of the Devs, probably all outside of this, but Chase, the game that I've been teasing before we recorded that I think you would like.
What do you got?
Toem 2.
Oh, okay. You said okay. All right.
I said it's a sequel.
I watched Day of the Devs. Yeah, but like that's okay.
I said
you were saying it was from a show that I hadn't seen.
No, so. I didn't think you watched Day of the Devs. Sorry about that.
I did, yeah.
But yeah, Toem 2 looks...
It's a Double Fine production. Of course I'm going to watch Day of the
Devs. Yeah, that looks really cool. Let's hop over to... Which one do you want to do next?
Whoa, I'm not done with Day of the Devs.
Do you want to hang out there? Okay.
Yeah. There are a handful. I mean, Toem 2 looks cool for sure.
Yeah.
It's I like that they're going 3D.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion to like a Risk of Rain that we also have talked about.
And a similar fashion as a Meat Boy.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about Meat Boy all that much, but sure. I understand the reference. I like that Toem 2 is a little bit more Toem, but it's also, hey, it all kind of is different because we brought this new dimension to it. I think that's going to be really interesting, and I'm really excited for that. Big Walk is a game I will never get to play because I don't have enough people in my life to make that a thing.
I mean, we can maybe try and convince our Discord folks to do it.
I just don't see it happening. I could see maybe we get to do it once, but this really feels like, oh, I've got a tight-knit group of like 5 to 10 people, and we're just gonna play the shit out of this. But I think it's maybe the coolest thing I saw this entire
Big Walk looks great.
Of stuff.
It looks great.
So this is from the Untitled Goose Game developers.
Yep.
And you're these weird looking duck men.
What's that? Unknown or Missing Known or something like that from Pokemon. What's the?
A little bit, sure. Yeah, they all kind of look like Doduos, maybe from Pokemon.
Like Doduo meets the like letters Pokemon.
Sure. Yeah. Unknowns. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably a closer bet. But they look funky.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is like it's this big open space, and you're supposed to travel in groups. And you'll find items that allow you to communicate with each other because the game has a communication system. What's the horror-y kind of game that you played with your cousin? And
with Johnny. It was the
had, like.
There's a few of them now. Repo's the most recent one that does it.
but like a phasmophobia or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
like
that
proximity
has
based chat.
proximity based chat. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this has that, and so when you get far enough away from your people, you don't get to hear them anymore. But the game, you can find a megaphone or something and hold that up, or you can hold up signs that you can write on, and there are binoculars so you can go and look at things, or somebody
it
can put
looks
up a
very cool.
glare. And there's also like witness style puzzles that you have to solve with your friends, but sometimes it's in like a glass box that's soundproof, and so you can't hear them in the
Yep,
proximity chat anymore, so they have to like mime stuff to you, or
it's
point to
so
things or
clever.
show stuff. There's so many cool things here, and the whole time I'm thinking like, would this be fun as two people? Would two people be enough to make this fun?
I,
I don't know.
we
I
can
don't think
try
so.
and like look like let's just when it gets closer, let's see if we can get more people
Yeah.
on the channel to play it. I think that could be done.
Yeah, we should try. I that was the coolest, most interesting. Like that could be the coolest game ever made, and I just don't think I'm ever going to get to experience it like that.
I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games I pulled out from Day of the Dev, so I'll just rattle those off for you really quick. I
Sure.
did Sword of the Sea. That's that hoverboard
Yeah.
game.
God, that game looks so good.
Mixtape I think could be really really special. It
Maybe
might
we've
it might be a
seen
little too,
Mixtape before.
yeah, it could be a little tweeny, but
It's
um
also I saw people talking about it online, and I feel the exact same way. Like, who is that game for?
yeah.
Is that game actually for the kids?
Oh, it's all
Because the
old head
kids,
music.
yeah, the kids don't know any of these
Yeah,
bands. Like, is it for us?
I don't
Because
know.
do we really need another game about teens breaking free? I don't know.
I
It feels like it's a weird time capsule thing that's odd, but I don't know.
I
Maybe it's good.
Possessors looks really cool from Heart Machine. Neverway, that was that really striking like horror farming sim, and then Tome 2. Those are the ones I put down.
Yeah, yeah. I also had Ratatan, which is
We
the
played.
Patapon dev. We played that on Casual
That's
Mondays as
cool.
well. Yeah, I think that's really rad. I love Patapon from like a an art style and just like vibe. And this is totally, it's the same dev, but they're broken free from Patapon. They're making a new style game that is very much a spiritual successor like that. And I also had a Pocket Boss, which is an
Oh yeah,
iOS
yeah.
game that's like fucking around with charts and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
doing it in a silly way. And I thought that looked really cool too. That was neat.
Let's pop over to the Wholesome Direct because I know
Sure.
we're getting close on time here. I don't want to talk poorly about anybody, but I really struggled getting through the Wholesome Direct this year. Like it just felt like the biggest fucking ASMR plug into bullshit. I'm just like, come on. Like I might not be the target audience for it, but I like a lot of these games. Like I love crafting, farming, slice
Yeah,
of life shit. Like
you are the target audience in many ways.
yes, totally. And I felt very
It's
disconnected from it.
it's a show that when it first came out, I think it was revolutionary, and we were all
Mm-hmm.
extremely excited about it. And there was a bunch of stuff there that made us feel like, wow, this is like
It was
a really great
2020. Everybody was
counterbalance.
fucking wrecked.
Sure, but like this is a really great counterbalance to the extremely violent shooter games that
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
seen time and time and time again. And I thought that was great. And it feels like every successive year, it's just gotten a little more trite. Uh, maybe that's a little harsh. No, it's probably about right. Where I just feel like it's worn thin, and we've seen it for the last couple of years, where it feels like one style of game has, like, we had like a breakthrough. We had a Stardew
Yeah.
Valley, and then every developer for a Wholesome Direct was like, well, we're gonna make a Stardew Valley kind of game.
Well, yeah, it was
And then it's like,
Animal
oh,
Crossing
somebody
that
made a
caused it.
cooking game, or in Animal Crossing for sure. And like, oh, now we're all going to make Animal Crossing style games. Or Venba came out, we're all going to make games about cooking and stories. And I just feel like there's so much repeated stuff in that space, and it's just worn thin for me. And while there were games that I thought were in that show that looked interesting, Is This Seat Taken is one that I've played on Chasey K Plays
Yeah.
before as a
Monument
demo.
Valley 3.
Monument Valley 3 was shown, looks awesome. There's a game called Outside the Blocks, which is like you're building snow
I have it
globes,
down.
I think. Like
I
you're
have the
building
demo
like
for
towns
us.
inside a snow globe, and I think it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
With we've played a game like Summer House, and I really love the art style of Summer House. and this just feels like it's taking that I'm building my own little private cottage,
Yeah.
and there's so much customization to it, and I could really make something that feels like my own. Uh, I think that game looks really, really cool. But for the most part, it's like I'm tired of farming, I'm tired of fishing, I'm tired of crafting. And I know Bobby's not tired of most of those things, but there's so many games that just feel like it's the same fucking thing.
Well, it's not only that, it was the same, like it was the oversized sweaters and just the whispering into the microphones, and like
Yes.
everything was every person was
backgrounds look the exact same.
Yeah, like there that was the thing that was like really unfortunate for me, is that like that it didn't feel like this was approachable for anybody unless you fit those molds. And I don't know, like I put down a bunch of games. Like I have Gordlets, so Gordlets Together looks cool. Is the Seat Taken, Monument Valley 3, Everdeep Aurora I thought looks really slick. One Move Away seems like it could maybe ape on a bit of what we did with Unpacking, but it's specific to vehicles. And then you and I took a look at this game, and I think we both liked it quite a bit. Islanders has a new game coming out called New Shores, and I thought that looked really cool. But I really think the PC gaming show and the Xbox game showcase were probably some of the highlights for me on what was there. And I don't want to get too much into it. I'll just say, like, I'm stoked that we get Grounded 2 and I get to play it next month. I think for you, Chase, like if you were ever to branch out and do something, I really think that what they're doing with the new Xbox ROG Allies is really, really cool.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's a hard sell for me at the moment while the strike stuff's still going on.
Yeah.
So I'm a lot less interested in anything Microsoft has to say. I will say it was great to see a new Double Fine game announced. I think that looks really cool. What was it called? Was it Keepers or something like
Keepers.
that? But yeah, it's like you play as a anthropomorphic lighthouse. It's like, man, I like Double Fine.
Persona 4?
Good company. Yeah, sure. That teaser of just here's some areas from Persona 4, and notice that we're not showing any of the voice acting because reasons.
Yep. I mean, the PC game show was probably like my highlight, because there's just a ton of like my shit.
PC gamer, so.
I'm a PC gamer, but it's all about, building automation. Skyrig, Dawn Apart, modules, Generation Exile, Moonlighter 2, Railborn, Voyagers of the Nera, Garbage County, Arcane Eats, and Wheel World. Wheel World is one that
that's just the name of one video.
That's just one. Yeah, you should look up Wheel World sometime. I've talked to you about that one before. It's coming out next month. It's got a striking look to it, man, and I think you will love that game.
Have I already looked at? Yeah, you've shown me this one
Yep.
before.
Yep. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think as we're wrapping up here, one of the things I'll call out, it's hard not to be jaded in this industry right now with everything going on, from the strikes Chase called out to the layoffs we mentioned earlier to the safe bets on hardware that we love. Like, there's a lot that will maybe dilute down or erode away like the excitement that I feel with stuff. And like this is just a very me thing. Like, I refuse to let myself become jaded about a hobby that means so much to me with gaming. I always do my best to celebrate these big, like, even if award shows are stupid, even if Jeff Keighley's a dork, like, I think that this is an important thing. Like, I have grown up watching E3s and reading magazines and just really celebrating what's new around it. And I struggled a bit over the weekend. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, the devil can never catch me. So what he did was he married me to a woman whose birthday falls every year on all these events. So I had time away where I had to like watch this on my own. And, in years past, you and I have watched these things together with other people, and we've had more of a dialogue going around it in real time. And I don't know, like playing Mario Kart by myself for most of the weekend and experiencing some of these and like dealing with it on that, like, just felt rough in some ways. And I'm trying really hard to make this feel substantial for me and exciting, and it's a little challenging to do.
Yeah, I feel similarly, honestly. But there's a couple of things that have helped. One is that not necessarily a plug for what I'm doing, but a little bit. You and I are playing Split Fiction right now on my YouTube channel, and that has been great. That has been a fantastic way for us to play a relatively new video game and do it in a way that gets me excited about the prospect of video games. Like, just by playing something that is like, oh, we're doing stuff together. It felt a lot like when we played Portal 2, and had a really great time doing the co-op stuff of that, which also felt really innovative at its time. The other thing is, and I guess it's similar to a Portal 2, it's going back. It's there's a billion video games that you haven't played, Bobby, that are fantastic and probably leaps and bounds better than most of the games that got announced this last week.
Sure.
I still haven't gotten to talk about it on a show. Hopefully I'll talk about it next week when we get back to what you've been playing and we don't have breaking
all the stuff to deal with. Yeah.
Or a preview. But I'm playing through Earthbound right now, the first real time, and I'm having a blast.
That's great.
It is such a inventive and quirky and fun game that does so many interesting things. And even though I watched Summer Games Fest mostly with a very bored look on my face, I guess if I liked Resident Evil, I would have had a really great time. But I don't care about Resident Evil, so it was like you showed like 3 different Resident Evil things. Kojima came out there to talk about a game that's coming out at the end of the month. So, and also the thing he showed was just 2 people talking in a room, which is fine, but like there's a lot of crazy shit.
It's a lot of
you can show whatever you want.
Yeah,
that's what you chose. Okay, so it's interesting, but I think you can always go back and find a classic game that is incredible, that will give you that feeling of video games are fucking cool.
They are cool.
So while I completely understand and I share that sentiment of feeling maybe a little down, maybe a little jaded of the whole thing that went on with Summer Games Fest and the week around Summer Games Fest, there's still so many ways to get inspired by video games and feel great about this medium. You just have to maybe look a little deeper or look back. And those are great options.
Well, we've got a lot of celebration here this week with the Casual Hour. We had the Steam Next Fest that kicked off on Monday. There's a ton of demos out. We probably are only going to cover it once because next Monday we have a friend stopping by. Mr. Pierce Corshane is going to join us of the Pilot Program fame to play Monster Train 2.
That's why he's famous.
Yes, that's what it is. And tonight was our recap of all things Nintendo Switch 2 and some of the Summer Game Fest activities. And there is a new game that I am hoping is going to be really cool that comes out on Friday, which is The Alters. We covered it in our preview episode from last week. And I'm going to play that on Friday night. If for whatever reason that game is just ass or it's not ready or any of that, like I got demos, I'll play for everybody on Friday night from the next festival. Oh boy. That is straight ass. And as Chase called out, we did put out this week our first Casually Considered. And as you were calling out earlier, like I'm doing that intentionally. One, because I want people to find cool games, but it also is a really easy way for me to find a reason to get excited about stuff and share things with games and have that going for our show.
You picked one really safe game to launch with, Bobby.
I did.
You're just like Nintendo.
I'm just like Nintendo. I did the low-hanging fruit. But I have some ideas on what to record for this weekend, and I'll probably end up doing another one of those. I don't know what the cadence will be for those, but I think right now I'm just like still figuring out my rhythm with it, and I want to try and hone that in. I don't know if you'll ever join me for those. You've been a little...
I imagine that I would absolutely join you for a handful of those as we go on.
But we got other... Games. Yeah, we've got cool things that we're doing with Chase K Plays too, which is, cousin of the show. But yeah, that's what we've got going on. You can follow along with all those things right there. Casually Considered is only on YouTube, so just know that that's where you're gonna have to go and get those. But honestly, that's probably the best place to like find all of our stuff from like Prosperity, because like we've got old streams, we've got all of our old quick looks on there, we've got anything we do on Twitch is also on YouTube. So that's probably like the best place to follow our content there if you want to do that. Chase, you mentioned it earlier, but you've been busy with me and others. What's happening?
That's true. I love getting busy with Bobby.
Heyo.
On my YouTube channel, Chase K Plays, Bobby and I are playing through Split Fiction right now in a series we call Stranger Than Split Fiction. It's been a lot of fun.
It really has.
Episodes in so far, and I think we're close.
Handful more.
Like we're like 2 chapters away, which could be another 2 to 4 episodes. Maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 to 5 is probably where we ended up.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. But it's been a great time so far, and I'm glad to have Bobby.
One of the better games this year.
Yeah, I agree. And then we mentioned Pierce Corshane as well. Pierce and I have a show called Pilot Program where we watch the first episodes of every television show ever made. Our new episode is supposed to record next week. Fingers crossed that it does. But we are going to be watching Rocko's Modern Life, the classic Nickelodeon cartoon show.
It's a great one.
We're gonna talk about it. Interesting little thing, Bobby. It's like the pilot. It's talking about like what the pilot episode of a show is not always the easiest thing. It's not just the first episode.
Yeah.
So there's a pilot, like an actual pilot that they sold to MTV. Actually, was the one that played the pilot of Rocko's Modern Life. And then when Nickelodeon picked up the show for everything, that pilot got converted into an episode, and I think it's like episode 6. So that's not even the first episode of the show. So I don't know exactly what we're going to watch. I'm going to watch it all. I'm going to watch the actual pilot, the converted pilot that's episode 6, and the actual first episode that appeared on Nickelodeon. And I don't know what Pierce is going to watch, but we'll talk about whatever he decides to watch out of that. And
he's going to watch Monster Train 2 on Monday night.
That's true. He will be watching some Monster Train 2 as we play through that, and that'll be a really good time.
Yeah.
So come join us for all of those things because they're all really fun.
Yeah. Chase, thanks for your hot takes. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the inclusion on Chase K Plays. We will be back on Friday with hopefully the alters. If not, demos.